That's how Hawaiian saris. Oi, paya oi, mai kaino. That is what it's all about. When you announce, people come in and say, "Oh, hello, my eye." Say, "Come and eat with me." I do it for my heart. That's where it comes from, inside your heart. You know, the blood vessel pumping, man.
I would remember my dad would kind of get us out of bed and would pick us up and walk us along outside to the car. Along the way, he'd be doing this kind of a breathy whistle, like a, I remember hearing that. And then we'd get to the car, there'd be a makeshift bed. My sisters would be there and he'd place us in, kind of put a little blanket or a towel over us and we'd kind of fall back asleep. Next thing I'd know, we'd wake up, we're on the boat. Here we are sitting down, drinking our hot cocos, eating a cinnamon roll, and just watching the day begin, that pre-dawn light kind of coming over the mountains, and the colors that it would cast on the water, just spectacular. You know, sitting there, groggy 5-year-old, just soaking it all in. Looking back on it now, definitely some magical moments.
We have to start at the beginning. Don't you remember waking up so early in the morning and loading into the car, like take your blanket, sleeping the whole drive from Kula to Lahaina, and then get down to the office, just straight into the kitchen.
Right into the kitchen, small little kitchen.
Yeah, it was good memories, but it was hard work working and making all those cinnamon rolls because we had to make enough for the whole week.
Yeah.
That's so cute though when we say 300 cinnamon rolls for the whole week. I think that would last us like
2 days.
2 whale watches now.
Grandma and Grandpa would be so amazed
So amazed.
to know what it's become.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they would be excited to know it's still the same recipes.
Still the same recipes, still the same
Face.
frosting, her famous frosting.
Yeah, still the family.
Yeah, we still give her the credit. The beauty of what Eldon and Jeanette and our family started was they invited people onto their boat, onto their home, and created a day and an experience that felt like family.
Absolutely.
And even though, you know, we've grown to 7 boats now, their spirit of wanting to create that is like still being produced. I think that they would really feel honored by that.
He was a dreamer. He wanted to be a world traveler, but life did not make that easy for him. He made choices that were mostly family choices that thwarted that dream until the very last few years of his life. We lived in a little kitchen. It's just built right on the coast with mountains right behind it. So I had literally the forest at my back door and the docks, you know, a block below me. And so I just had the ocean and the mountains right there together. I had a fabulous childhood. When I was 11 years old, I had a chance to go fish with my cousin. I left home the day after school got out. I got home the day before school started and fished the Gulf of Alaska for 3.5 months. Loved it. Told my dad, I said, how come I gotta quit fishing? I hate school and I gotta go back to school. And my dad said, you know, son, fishing's an honorable profession, but you're still only gonna fish 6 months out of the year. So you still have to have another profession. And that's why you've gotta go to school. Manana II was the queen of the coast when she was launched. Beautiful boat. It was a very important part of our life, that boat was. I know we had about 5 wealthy circles of people that, mostly through word of mouth, came to charter with my dad. He had a chef, Joseph Romantini. He was a Corsican, lived in Paris, flew over to cook for my dad every season, did that for 17 years, was one of Europe's great chefs, and just did an amazing job in the galley. And so he was able to produce a world-class product up there. And that's why these very wealthy circles of people would recommend him to their friends, and many of them came back year after year. You know, he was just a really humble, hardworking, wonderful man. And I just think people recognize that about him. You know, he was competent and kind and was really good at what he did and truly cared about these people, wanting to give them just the very best experience that he could possibly give them in this magnificent wilderness of Alaska. I was working just off campus, Berkeley, California, and I was sitting in a barber's chair, and I decided to read my mail while I was in the barber's chair. And I opened up this letter from my dad, and there I read about that the boat had sunk. And I started to cry as I sat there in the barber's chair, and the barber said, "Oh, I'm sorry, did somebody die?" And I said, "Sorta." That moment, I could feel my dad's incredible pain. That was not just our livelihood, which it surely was, but it also was so much of our way of life. He was in his 60s at the time. He had minimal insurance. The insurance that he had basically just covered the deposits for the charters that he would have for the rest of the season. It left him in a very tough shape financially. He didn't really know what he was going to do. He did not have enough money to go buy another boat, and he had a couple, 3 months of trying other ventures, just trying to figure out how he was going to continue on with his life, earning a living. Well, you know, my dad married well, no doubt. My mom was an amazing woman. My mom had seen that if my dad was going to continue on doing what he did, he had to have a boat.
She had a secure job. She was tenured as an academic. She had a nice home and was willing to basically give all that up for something, as some people would say, irresponsible as building a boat. And the best sign would be if somebody just out of the blue came and asked them if they wanted to sell the house. A short period of time, maybe a couple of weeks after they had made this commitment and had asked for divine guidance on this, somebody came up, knocked on the door, and asked if they wanted to sell the house. You know, as I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate even more the tremendous sacrifice and leap of faith that our mother made when she decided to put total commitment into this project.
The Craig family sailed in on this big powerboat. They had spent a bit of time in Hawaii with that boat, and they told my dad, there's this island called Maui, beautiful island, good harbors there, and there's a private island across from Maui called Lanai. And you could actually run a trip from Maui over to that private island. So my dad was really interested in that. So he sort of just grasped that plan, and wherever we went, that was his focus. I had quit my job in Berkeley, and I was living in a little cabin north of Juneau. In the interim, my parents had sold their home, and my dad was living in this little teeny trailer, just had a bunk and a stove in it. And I went down to see my dad, and we started talking life. And he said, well, son, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Gosh, Dad, I said, a part of me just wants to put a pack on my back, go till my money runs out, go back and fish again and do that for a few years. And he said, well, you know, son, if we were to build a boat together, you could travel and you wouldn't be a bum. You still could be broke, but you pull into port and you got a nice boat and it puts you in a different place. You're not just a bum with a pack on your back, you got a boat. It's just a completely different way to travel. And he said, look it, son, here's the deal. You know what I believe. I'm a man, I'm just trying to live life as morally correct as I can. And you're a man, and you gotta make up your own decision on how you're gonna live your life. I realized at that moment, it didn't matter my performance, even if he didn't see anything that I did eye to eye, he still would love me. That was just a huge thing for me. And I think at that moment, I realized, I said, you know what? I think I could build a boat with my dad. Randy was attending the University of Washington, getting really involved in some of the politics there. So about a few months into the project, Rand finished up the quarter he was at and just started working full time.
When I left university to join the building project, and I think I can speak for my brother as well, neither one of us had really bought in to the dream. Lack of imagination, maybe. And it wasn't for several months that we realized this dream could be a reality. And as we invested more of our sweat equity into it, just over time it became our dream.
And truthfully, the project would have never happened without Rand. I mean, it took all of us. None of us were working for a wage, and we were blowing through our money pretty fast, as frugal as we could be. I remember we had no more money to buy food. And I watched the canned goods just shrinking there in the larder, and it was down to where I had a few cans of beans left, and my dad would grind wheat and make bread a couple times a week. That was really delicious. Dad's brother, Afton, pulled in with his big, beautiful motorhome, and he asked Dad how things are going. And Dad said, well, we're doing good. We're working 6 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day, but we're running out of money. We need about $15,000 to finish the project. Monday morning, Afton went down to the bank and transferred money to my dad and loaned us the $15,000. And without that, we would have not been able to finish the project. That was just miraculous the way that it happened. I mean, we were right at the end, and that money came in and we were able to finish the job. When we actually started our cruise, I'll never forget, we were off the coast of Oregon, California, and we were about 200 miles out to sea, and there was a really big swell running. And I looked behind the boat, and there's this giant wave. It looks to be as tall as the mizzen mast, with this triplicate stripe down the face of it. The top, maybe 10 feet of it was breaking water, and then the rest of it was just the track of the boat going down this big sea. And we were surfing down the face of this huge sea, and we'd sort of lose wind as we got down in the trough, and then we'd come up on the backside and the wind would fill our sail, which we had way too much sail up, and just almost launch us over the next wave and then surf down the face of that wave. And Dad, he was at the helm and just in his glory, and boys, this is just what the boat was designed to do. Isn't this great? And I remember thinking, Dad, you've had a good life, and you're now in, well into your 60s, and if it all ended now, well, you've had a good run. And hey, I'm just starting. I'm not ready to end it yet. This is dicey stuff out here. For me, my home was a boat. I remember the moment we were in Mexico and we took a trip up to Guadalajara. And when we came back from that trip, There was our boat sitting there in the harbor, and I realized that I was coming home. This was my home. And wherever I went, my home was with me. And so as we sailed north, heading towards Hawaii, we started getting close and we couldn't see any land at all. So I did a round of star sights, and that night when the sun set, and it was this nice glow, and then the glow just stayed there. It didn't ever go away. And we said, wow, that is the longest lasting sunset. Well, as it turned out, it was a volcano. It was erupting and it was reflecting on the clouds. And so we were seeing the red reflection of the volcanic eruption on the clouds. That was a really cool moment, just, sighting land in that magnificent way. Then we spent 6 months cruising through the Hawaiian Islands before we finally settled here in Maui. Finally got up to Lahaina with the entrance buoy, and I loved the vibe of Lahaina. It was just a sleepy little town and with good weather, so I was stoked.
Well, as both my brother and I have often said, we not only fell in love with the islands, but a couple of the island girls. My wife, who's Hapahali, she's born on the Big Island. She was in Lahaina visiting her great Auntie Florence. And I was just fortunate enough to meet her and fall in love. And she was a teacher. She taught several years at Sacred Heart School there, and eventually ran the food and beverage part of our business for many years and was an integral part of our success. My brother was equally blessed with finding a local girl that he fell in love with, and she also brought, her amazing talents to the family, and her Hawaiian roots, of course, go very deep. So this multi-generational legacy that, we've been blessed with is something that, we can continue for many generations.
They came in to the harbor in 1973, 74, around there.
My dad's dream of taking passengers from Maui to Lanai and going back on day excursions was a very viable possibility, and not wanting to presume that we could just do this on a private island without some permission, we went up to see Dwayne Black.
Jim and Randy came over, with their family, He started talking, and my mother-in-law and his mother talked their language. But when I met Jim, I said, Jim is so kind-hearted, really good. He can understand what you're talking about. Even Randy. The thing is that when you see the two guys together, they welcome you and they greet you with the aloha.
As we got to know local people there, we had talked to them about what we were proposing and said, can you just give us some advice on how we can run our operation in a way that will be well accepted by the residents of Lanai?
When Jim and Randy came and approached us, at the time when we were down there picnic, Hawaiian side, give aloha. You working then come. Even though you bring in the Malahinis come in, you can come in Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday, and holiday is for the local people. Like going down fishing, go barbecue, go camping down there.
And so we crafted our business around running Monday through Friday, not going over there on weekends or company holidays. And incidentally, that's something that we still honor to this day, 50 years later.
Going to the island of Lanai and having that relationship with the community has always been really important to us.
It's kind of like that kuleana word. It's part privilege, it's part responsibility. If you're gonna be working out in nature in Hawaii, you owe it to those who are on board with you. You owe it to them to share. It's what makes Maui, Maui. It's what makes us unique. Without it, we could just be like any tropical destination in the world. The company started out using trimarans, and I still remember the original Trilogy trimaran. I had some of my early memories on that boat. And there were still, I swear, items and props that they had on their original journey were still in circulation on the boat.
And I just realized that we needed to change the direction of the company. We needed to modernize so that we would attract the caliber of captain that I was looking at. And I think I started sketching out what later became our first catamaran. And it established a blueprint that we have followed to this day.
We do have a new fleet. We have 7 boats now.
As we moved to catamarans, things just made a lot more sense. We had a nice large deck space. The cabins got bigger. We could have a larger galley. We had more of a center spot, and then the bow became a really big focal point on the boats, a place that people love to sit.
As a company, we are looking at different ways to offset our carbon, offset our impacts on the land, and work better with the community. One of the things that we started years ago was the Blue Lāna campaign.
And so it started off as a grassroots idea of crew and friends. They would just take a boat out and go to different spots off of Maui and just pick up whatever trash they can find. I remember those early years, bowling balls, shopping carts, cars. Like, you'd be surprised how many cars made it into the reefs around here. Honolulu Bay had like 3 or 4 cars.
In the most recent years, where we can, we've switched to biodiesel, and that's made a big difference. One of the more important things is trying to work with more local farmers. 95% of our produce at our restaurant and our catering is all from local farmers. That has helped because that doesn't have to be shipped all the way over here.
I've seen a lot of changes in the last 20 years for the better. Yet one thing really remains steady throughout all that time is almost like a family that you make with your coworkers on the boats. I remember feeling it when I was a teenager in my young 20s. That was my friend group. When we had our wedding, that was like the majority of the people I invited was just the people I work with. I think that's really what makes Trilogy so special. It's that culture, that ohana, that family that we kind of build with our coworkers.
Riley, Denver, Leanne, Ginger, Lily, and Mei-Li, I mean, even for them, they go on the boats and the guests hear that they were the grandkids of Eldon, Coon, and Jeanette. And even though a lot of them didn't get to really meet their grandfather, it's special for our guests to hear the next generation is working on the boats, working in the business still. I believe that's what makes it last as long as it has, you know, passing on from generation to generation.
What my goal is to treat people with aloha, with respect, as they see the beauty around them, that it will start turning their thoughts to things higher than themselves, to spiritual things, that this will be a transcendental experience, not just a trip on a boat. Beyond that, where they start giving thanks for life and for the vibrancy that's around them, and that they realize that this is no accident, that they're here for a purpose. They can make a difference. And this harmony of nature and humans is a beautiful thing, and it's something that they can take with them when they go back to whatever their life is, and somehow their life is better.
You never know what people are going through. Vacation's a really important time for people to reflect inwardly. So when you get to host somebody and they're in that headspace and you get to maybe show them the underwater environment, perhaps it's their first time, and you see them just come alive and they realize, wow, this is just the most amazing thing I've ever done. For some people, this is the best day of their life on the boat. I've seen that. Sometimes they'll come back to the office years later, write you a letter, and they just tell you, like, you have no idea the impact that you did on our family. It's just one of the most special things you can do. And it's an honor to get to do that.
And I just want to thank each one of these amazing, amazing people, you that have cast your lot with us at Trilogy, that you're part of the Trilogy Ohana. You make the Trilogy Ohana what it is. You have the heart that makes this the best company in Hawaii, that gives us the position in our industry that is the envy of many. And it's because of you and what you give out every single day, whether it's being a captain and crew on one of our vessels, whether it's fixing great food in our food prep area, whether it's serving customers at Kapena's, or whatever it is, it's a sacred, sacred trust that I surely treasure. I know that our adult children that now own the company treasure, and together it's way beyond what I can see.
See, we welcome people the way how we were taught, like I was saying. When you do something good for them, they understand and they're not going to forget. See, this is the kind of stuff. You show your appreciation for them because they come to you. And when you talk to them, they're happy and they start crying. Oh my God. Stop crying. Stop it. You're going to make me cry. Enough already. But who can help? Because why? I saw Aloha right there. And now we start crying. No, because when you think about this kind of stuff here, it makes you good. Amen to that.
When darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken.